Start. Wait.
I'm started.
Hey.
I just started it, Katie.
Oh, okay. All
Is the
right.
awkwardness gone now? Because it
Let's
just
do
started.
it.
It just happened. We're live. People have the ability to log on and watch us have this unfiltered, unscripted, educational conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. How
All
are you
right.
this
Well,
morning?
I'm great. It's my husband's birthday. I am celebrating him all day, and it's Friday, and you're getting the end of the week. What'd you say? The raw, unfiltered end of the week, Katie. Just,
Yes.
done for the day, Katie. All right.
Just
That's what you get today.
just let it go. Just let it
Mm-hmm.
fly. That's all I
Okay.
ask.
You too. Well, it's early morning for you. I
I I
confirmed
don't-
you were
I never
drinking coffee, not beer.
I never have a problem letting it fly. Let's be honest.
Okay.
Okay.
Do we have a censor beep on here? Are we good?
You know what? I feel like the people enjoy a little profanity,
Let's keep it
especially out of
PG.
people that are supposed to be professional. That's what I find.
PG.
PG, not
Yeah.
PG-13, PG.
Yeah.
And are we talking 1980s ratings or current day ratings? Because those two different systems. Let's be honest.
It's like those movies that you watch as an adult and you're like, oh my gosh, I watched this over and over as a child and I never understood. Or the songs that you sang in the car with your parents. You're like, oh my
Yeah,
God, that's embarrassing. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. No,
Let's keep it
I,
clean.
my stepdad gave me a classic education in 80s martial arts movies. And I go back and I watch those, and I was like watching them when I was like 9, right? And now upon reflection, it's so obvious to me that the reason why was because like he's brand new in my life, and he's like, hey, check this out, that dude just roundhouse kicked another dude through a plate glass. I'm cool, right?
I've already done a Karate Kid moment today. We are remodeling our kitchen here at work with a
Mhm.
very firm deadline of 1 week left because we have our Team's Giving next Friday. We have this cool new exhaust hood in there and it's got like
Mhm.
hand movements. And
Oh
so I was
wow.
like trying to get it to work and doing like wax on, wax
Yeah,
off.
yeah.
Nothing. Didn't work, but I had a great Karate Kid reference from it. So that was the highlight of my day.
I always love those moments where you have a movie reference and you quote it in a room of like 80 people, and like one dude in the back is like, hell yeah. And like you just know, like you and him, you're good.
Or you're the only one. Like nobody? It's just me.
That
Okay.
happens so frequently to me. Like my wife, I laugh at my own jokes so much. My wife's like, you think you're so damn funny, don't you? And I'm like, I actually do. I think I'm pretty funny.
That's what happens when you become a dad, though. You have dad jokes. It just happens all of a sudden. People who are never funny become hilarious when they have kids.
Why do you think that is?
I don't know. Maybe because you got to learn how to keep it PG.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm definitely more PG-13 even around my kids. But it was rated R for me when I was growing up. So,
The S word in my house is stupid.
oh.
Should we talk about RIA, Anthony?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it. So, good morning, everybody. I'm here with Katie Smith, current president of the Restoration Industry Association, and overall down home, wonderful individual to spend time with. I do have to say, you're one of my favorite people to have dinner with.
Likewise, you're one of my favorite people to be on a board with because you always bring me very good treats from Hawaii.
I'm buying your affection with knack nuts. Let's be
You
honest.
absolutely are. It's working. I sent you some things too, though, and a recipe. So, like, we're even.
That's true. That's true. I got my shrimp grits. I'm ready to roll.
Shrimp and grits.
Shrimp and sorry.
Yeah, shrimp
Apologize.
and grits. Yeah.
It's not shrimp grits.
No,
Is that a different meal?
that's not a thing. You
It's
just made
just
it
wrong.
up. Yeah.
It's just wrong. It's kind of like sugar and barbecue sauce in your neck of the woods, right? It's
Yeah,
got to be all
yeah.
vinegar and mustard.
Vinegar,
Yeah.
yeah.
No. All right. Well, tell us a little bit how you got started in property restoration.
Lucky for you, I just had to go down this path. A couple of weeks ago, I was speaking to some middle schoolers and high schoolers who were
Ooh.
interested in the trades. And I thought, well, let me just put myself back in their shoes and figure out how in the world I did get here. And I realized that until I was 20, 21, 22 years old, never, never, never did it cross my mind to ever join my family business,
Mhm.
which is restoration. It's something that I kind of grew up around, but didn't really I even wrote like little papers. You know how you had a writing folder in elementary school and you had to write about like, certain people. And I was like, my dad. And I wrote about him one day and I was like, I ride around with him when school is closed or when I'm sick. And he does a lot of paperwork. So I was like, he's a contractor. His job is to do a lot of paperwork and look at houses that have been damaged by fires or water damage. And so it was just never, I have a brother and I thought, I don't even know if I ever thought he would join the business. It just never crossed my mind. And it took me a while to really figure out what I was going to do when I grew up. And even in college, I still wasn't 100% sure. And I love music. So I thought I would work at a local morning show on the radio station, which was a lot of fun. Yeah, it was like a lot of fun, but just did not pay my bills. And you get like paid in free concert tickets and B-list celebrities would come by and visit. But it just wasn't, it was really cutthroat. And just the culture of it was not really what I wanted for the rest of my life. And I was just trying to figure out what next. And I was at my parents' house one night talking to my dad, and he just like threw it out there and he said, hey, why don't you come give it a try? Because he had someone who was transitioning out.
Okay.
And it basically like a route marketing type job.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. 22.
22?
23, 20, maybe 23, I think.
I could see like you as a route marketer in your early 20s, probably just slaying dragons.
Not real. No, I'm very introverted. Fun fact about me. Like, I know I don't come across that way, but and I really had no idea what I was doing. So we were talking about being awkward earlier. Like, I was just so clueless. And I know my dad just assumed that I grew up around this and I knew everything about it. So there was no know-how or, an onboarding program to teach me everything. And he just thought by like osmosis that I would pick it up maybe. And so it was a rough start, and I did okay with like some relationships that we already had in place, but I was just lost and just trying to figure it all out. And I was more interested in just how everything worked, and not so much in sales and marketing. It's not that I don't enjoy that, but really just trying to figure out what in the world we did. And so I just started going to some different certification classes and just learning different parts of the business, like how our contents division worked and just some changes that we could make there, and just started just growing in general. But it was never anything that I thought I was going to do. And I really thought that I might have just been here like until I found what I really wanted to do. Turns out I'm still here, like 18 years later, here I am. And but it took me a while to find my place here. And once I did, it started really clicking for me. And then I was just like full speed ahead. I fell in love with it. But I'm not going to lie to you and tell you that I loved it from the first day here. That was not the case. But I had to find what I loved in this industry.
Yeah. So I'm going to go off script for a second.
Yay. I can't wait.
You ready?
Yeah.
So this is one of my favorite interview questions I ask people when I'm looking to hire folks. If money was no object, like you were independently wealthy, but you had to work 40 hours a week doing something, what would you do?
That's funny. I actually think about this a lot. So I'm always thinking about, I don't think I'm going to be doing this when I'm 60 or 70, right? Or even maybe 50. I'm still pretty young. So I am always trying to figure out what I would do next. The problem is, Anthony, as you know, the people of this industry are so amazing. So I kind of think about like, how could I even lead this industry in the first place? I would do something probably in the health and fitness arena.
Okay.
And something that I could be outdoors more often. So just try to find a way where I could just incorporate what I love doing when I'm not here into my everyday life. But that when I ever think about like what's next for me, it's hard for me to even get past the thought of leaving the industry and the people in it, because that community is what really just makes me love this industry.
I mean, obviously, coming off the heels of one of my recent professional transitions, like I totally agree with you. I just can't imagine my life anywhere else. However, if there's like a civil engineer for the National Park Service that gets to like design and build footbridges,
that's you.
Yeah. Like, okay. and without having to adhere to code, like, oh, I'm doing a suspension bridge out of like hemp rope today.
Looks good to me. That'll hold.
Yeah, it's only got to hold a couple hundred pounds. It'll be fine. It's only a 10-foot drop.
Yeah.
No big deal. So I think we touched on, why do you continue? So what's your favorite part of the business? Like, what do you find, like I always find when I talk to owners or principals of businesses, there's like one area of the business that either pulls on them or they're reluctant to let go of and give autonomy.
Yeah.
So that
for
may be
sure.
two different questions, but I'll tee it up both ways for you.
Well, let's just put it this way. I learned every part of the business, and I had to start with obviously technical training, certifications,
Mhm.
and project management, doing the things. I went through the CR program because I knew I had to learn what we did and how we did it.
Yeah.
So I tried all the things. I even took like some college level accounting courses because I needed
Oh,
to
wow.
learn that part of the business too. I took employment law, all the things. So I just like spent a lot of years just learning as much as I could. But what really clicked for me was the culture component of it and realizing the potential that we had. And then I'm not gonna say it's a responsibility or an obligation, but it's like as an employer, you have this huge opportunity to really impact someone's life. And
Yeah.
knowing that me as a leader or an owner, that if I don't want to get out of bed and go to work every day, that how could I ever possibly expect my team to be able to do that
Yeah.
too? And
Yeah.
just like when you transition from one generation to the next, it's a rocky road. It's pretty hard. And culture, morale, all the things. It was just incredibly difficult. And then once I just started saying like, all right, if I'm gonna put everything I have into this, if this is my life's work,
Yeah.
what can I build here in our town? And you read like all these leadership and culture books, and it's
Yep.
like Google and Apple and all these places. And I kept thinking like, what can I take from this and apply it here, like on my scale? And how can I build a place where people look forward to getting out of bed and coming here every day, and that they see their part in building this place where we all impact each other positively, and you've got a team of people that have your back and you enjoy working with them. And like
Mhm.
we spend more time with our coworkers than we do with our families.
Yep.
And how do you create a place that's full of people that you want to spend your time with? And then you use those talents and you use that positivity and every gift that you've been given almost as a ministry to like to go out and serve other people. And then when you do that really well and you get paid and you're profitable, then you take what you've got and then you go out to your community and where you live and the place that supports your business, and you go out and serve people in the community as well. So it's really just like a full circle thing where it's just you serve this person, they serve that person, we serve these other people. And it's just seeing like how big our impact can be. And I just kind of got just fascinated with seeing what we could do for our community through our business.
Tell me a story. Like, what's the one that comes to mind?
I mean, it's like, I'm just trying to think. There's a lot of things that we do. So this is where it kind of gets tricky because when you have a business that's focused on serving your community, when you promote what you do, it can feel a little icky sometimes, right? So there's so many things that we do that are just behind the scenes, and we don't promote that because that's not the motive that we have for it. Just Christmas, we're getting into the holiday season, which is my favorite time as a business owner. It's also exhausting, but this is where it's like my time to like 100%. Everything I do is focused on everybody, right?
Yeah.
And so I have someone at my church who she works with our local government and like their senior department, but it's also part of social services. And I call her and just say, give me a family that needs help this year. And so we get a list of things, and it's like everybody in the house, all the things about all the people, what kind of hardships they may be facing. And so we have like our team's giving, and at the end we roll it out with everybody. And it's like, here's who we're going to impact, in the next few weeks. And it's like for the next few weeks, everybody's out like saying, I got this, I got that, I got this. We all get together. We wrap the gifts. We like do over and above and beyond. Like we had kids who were into football in our family last year. So our local university went crazy with like their football program of like putting together all these packages and things. But
nice.
Yeah, we took it over to the family, and I'd never met the woman before that I was working with and that we were serving, but She answers the door. She's in a wheelchair, and she told us about an organ donation list that she was on, and like all the things that like health wise that are going on. And her mom was there, and we just like delivered this enormous Christmas into this house while our kids were at school, and they were coming home from Christmas vacation. Well, they're starting vacation that day.
Yeah.
And so when they walked into the house, it was like, I'm sure they were blown away, but we just sat in her living room and got to know her, prayed with her, and kind of kept in touch with her through like, all of her surgeries and things like that. And like when I go exercise through town and walk through town, I'm always looking out for her and waving and just kind of keeping track of her and her kids and what she's doing. So it's not like stuff like that, like being able to take whatever opportunities we have and to serve others is just, that's what I love doing. So that's what we do.
And I think that's a common thread through our industry too. I often feel like that element of altruism, if you don't have it, this is a horrible industry to work in for you. Because when it's 3 a.m. and you're looking for the motivation to go to the next job, like you got to have a greater sense of purpose. Otherwise,
absolutely,
it's not like you can't pay somebody enough. It's just not worth doing, right? Go get a county job at that point.
Yes, absolutely. You got to have something to like dig into whenever it gets hard, because it's going to get hard all the time. And if you don't know why you're doing it, you got to like be able to couple your passion and your purpose. And that's what I think we're doing here. And just being able to communicate it enough is always our issue as a leader, of just being able to communicate it in a way where it clicks with everybody and that they can remember it whenever it's like, oh gosh, it's Friday, 3:30, here it comes. Like every Friday at 3:30, right? So, I mean, we work that into like our culture guide, onboarding, and even interviewing. It's like our values, enthusiasm. I mean, that's an example of like, are you going to get excited to go help somebody at 3:30 on a Friday? Because if not, this might not be the right place for you. Yeah. It's all about setting expectations, right?
And I always find that, as a leader, you are winning when you say something and you hear the audible groan from your employees. They're like, oh, geez, this soapbox again, right? And I'm like, okay, that like I have driven it home enough that now it is so much a part of our culture that you guys are like, okay, yeah, we got it. All right. So.
But also it's like, isn't it amazing? I like last year on Christmas night, like we were slammed here, and it's like, I go out on a job site. We're at like a nursing home, and it's all hands on deck, and people are walking around like Merry Christmas, and they've got a smile on their face, and it's not like Merry Christmas, like I hate my life. It's like there's joy. And whenever you have people who would run through a brick wall on Christmas night to go out and serve other people, it's like, man, that's incredible. It's just such a good feeling. And I don't know of many industries that get to experience that feeling like we do. And it's just either you love it or you hate it. If you don't get it, then this is not an industry that you need to be in for the long term.
Yep, for sure. So how long have you been on the board for? What, like, you could probably quantify it in what's the moon phase? 7 year? Yeah. like we measure it in a different quantity for you, just because you've been here for so long.
I had to go look it up. In 9 years. It'll be 9 years at the end of this year.
My goodness.
Yep.
I like 9 years ago, I didn't have kids. I didn't own a house.
Yeah, it's been a long time, and I mean, it's almost bittersweet to think about. I'll be rolling off soon, and Ben's coming in, and I'm so excited for him. And I still get to sit in that past president seat for a little bit, but I've been involved for a long time, and there's so much change that I've seen in RIA during that time that now there's so much volunteer joy, and that wasn't always the case years ago. But we are in such a good place right now. And it's just a really exciting time to be a member of RIA or a volunteer with RIA. And it's just, I will miss so much. Like, I don't love Las Vegas, but as much as I feel like we meet there all the time, right? But I love being able to spend time with other restorers, because that's what has really helped me as a leader and a business owner, is just that fellowship and learning from other people, and really just being able to provide that community for other contractors has been really important for us.
Right on. So you have this wonderful vantage point in the fact that you've been in the RIA ecosystem for so long now, I get to ask this question from a different perspective. What is the one thing that you're most proud of, or the thing you think drove the greatest impact that you had the opportunity to accomplish with your time here?
I haven't accomplished anything. I worked with a great group of people, and there's been three things that we've done that have really been game changers for us. And we changed management companies, which I know that's not something that you think, oh, that's not an achievement.
Yeah.
Right, I get that. But if you were engaged in RIA 4 years ago, 5
Yeah.
years ago or more, and you weren't having great experiences with our organization, and you weren't getting great customer service, and you just said, I'm done with this organization,
Yep.
you gave us a chance and you left. We've changed how we operate, and we have a top-notch team running the back end for us. And like just switching from one company to another was a huge endeavor for us. And that was a lot of time, hours, traveling to go and interview with these people, checking references and having tons of meetings, and just making sure that we were very intentional in making the right choice for our members and for our industry. And so let's see, that was in like 2019 that we did the bulk of that. I think I quit in early 2019, and my good friend Mark Springer was like, we just had a conversation about it. And he was like, what are you going to do about it? And I'm like, well, I guess I'll get to work on us finding a new management company. So him and I together spent a lot of time trying to find the right fit for us. So that was a big one. And then when we changed to association headquarters, that was January 2020. We sat down and had our business or our strategic planning in February of 2020, and then COVID, right?
Yeah.
And during that time, we realized, okay, well, we can't have events anymore. And so much of our association hinged on that one convention. And it still is a big event for us, but us just having to really check ourselves and say, all right, what kind of value are we providing, and how are we going to get all of our eggs out of one basket? And then the AGA launching during that time as well. And just some of the progress that we've made there. I just remember we've come so far from that time in Las Vegas with Ed Cross on stage. And I was like, oh, well, let me just because I was an RIA admin for my like the Facebook account. I was like, oh, let me just go live on this. And then just remember like the phone in my hand. I'm like, oh goodness, my hand was like shaking.
I actually came back after that, and I like sat down with some of our team, and I'm like, I watched history happen. Like I watched history. Like you need to watch this. This is, if you're going to stay in this industry, this is an important milestone, right?
It really was. And to be there when it was happening, I was like, oh boy.
You
but also realizing
like with a knife too, right? Like
yeah. But I think, looking back on it, like I think that had to happen. Now granted, that's not, the way we do it now is so much different. But it was just like we got everyone's attention. And just to look at where we were there and where we are now, and you're on the pricing team, and you think about like whenever we get together and we have leadership from Exactware on the call and asking us, if his team is doing a good enough job of making progress on the things that we're asking for, and if he's not happy with it, saying so and saying we're going to do better, and just having that dialogue now, and it not being tense, and it being really just open and honest listening and collaboration. We weren't there years ago, and just to see where we are now. So I think sometimes people come in and it's like all brand new, and they're like, they don't have the historical context to see where we were and where we are now and what all had to happen to get there. So 2020, just all of those, like I remember sitting in my dining room with my kid doing like his third grade work beside me, and like we're interviewing Mike Fulton on Zoom and broadcasting that, and just starting to get all the cards out on the table and saying like, here's where we are, this is not okay, what are we going to do about it? And now we're doing stuff about it.
Like I listened to a podcast for a guy who was he's like a what do they call him, lobbyist, like a independently wealthy guy, made his money, created a lobbyist organization towards social causes. And he's like, hey, we've done the research. We can fix the prescription drug problem in America. We know exactly what needs to happen. It's 21 independent bits of legislation that need to be enacted in order for us to get there. And he's like, but I can't get anybody to listen to me long enough to explain the entire process. So I've got to start one place, then the next place, then the next place. And it's, sometimes the pace at which change evolves feels very glacial, but it's how true and everlasting change actually happens.
Yes. And it's like when you're in it, like when you're in your business and you've got these big goals
Mhm.
and you're right in the middle of it and you can't see, sometimes you feel like you can't see where you're going. And then you forget that you need to look back and see how far you've come and
Yep.
how you should be proud of yourself. Same concept of where we are right now. Like I think sometimes we get amnesia and forget what it was like just a few years ago.
Well, and I'm impatient too. That doesn't
Me
help.
too. Me too. Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Mentors. Tell me about your mentors. Like who's propped you up and supported you in the growth and development?
So I told you it took me a while to really find my way, and whenever I worked for my boss on the radio show, the host, he had these crazy high expectations. He was a wild card, and he had a pretty crazy reputation, but we were number one for a reason for
Mhm.
decades, and just like at the time, I don't think I realized the lessons that I was getting, but he's the one who really taught me a sense of urgency and making stuff happen and how
Yeah.
important that was. But he also taught me how to love your team and love them hard and show up for their big life events like my wedding, when I
Mhm.
graduated from college, like all of these things. He was there for me. And I didn't work there for decades. It was only like a year or two. It was a
Yeah.
very short period of time, but I was part of his work family and he
Yeah.
treated me as such. And so Bob Dumas was his name. He was like probably the first person who taught me like, yes, I can do really hard things and I can do them
Mhm.
well and I can perform. Right. And so in our industry, I want to give like credit to three people in particular that are just believers in me, and that would be Chuck Violan, Lee King, and Mark Springer, the
Mhm.
three presidents that came before me in particular. I mean, we'd be sitting here all day if I tell you about all the people who've been
Yeah.
amazing supporters of me, but those three men in particular would put me in positions that scared the crap out of me, but they were just like, "You got this." And I'm like, "Are you sure?" And they're like, "Yeah, you got this." And, it's, um, people, I don't think there's, people want to make things about gender, but
Yeah.
those three men have been amazing to me. And then you think about like, they're all dads of daughters, right? And I think, I think they've all like kind of said, all right, like, we are going to pour into this young woman and make sure that we treat her the same way we want someone to treat our daughter. And
Yeah.
just having people who believe in you is such a powerful thing. And then I've got so many people on top of them as well who just kind of share what they do in their business and what works for them. I love talking to Warner Cruz because he
Yeah.
just he's a big role model for me just with his culture and what he's done. And but he keeps it real with me, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
He'll go back and say, all right, what size are you now? And he'll say, how many people do you have? And like
Mhm.
that's how he considers size. It's not all about money for him,
Yeah.
because some people just talk in terms of revenue, but Warner's always, how many people do you have now? And then
Mhm.
I'll say, he's like, oh, I remember that size. I love that. It's just,
Yeah.
and you say, well, I'll tell you what I would do if I were you right now. And that's what I love, is when someone will go back and remember, like, all right, I remember where you are now, and this is what I would do if I had to do it all over again. Love that.
Mhm. I'm trying to think of another industry where people just say, "Hey, when you're in town, come by my facility." Right?
Totally, right? I
I
just
don't
want to go on like a restoration roadshow and
dude,
just
right?
go like to all these facilities that I keep hearing about. That would be fun.
That well, if you end up doing it, invite me. Like I'll
Okay.
go. I'll ride shotgun. I'm good
You
with
bring the
that.
macadamia nuts.
I'll
I'll
bring the
bring the
Mac
shrimp and
nuts. I'll
grits.
pay for gas. I'll bring the Mac nuts and pay for
Okay.
gas.
Deal.
All right. If you had 100 grand to start over in this industry, how would you deploy the capital?
I thought we agreed you wouldn't ask me this question.
Did I? I don't remember that.
Yes. Yes. Because I told you I would have to answer honestly, and
Mhm.
you said great. So
I
I told
remember
you,
that. I don't remember you
yeah,
saying don't
because
ask.
I said I like, if you're telling me that I had like I have a choice of I don't have a restoration business anymore and I'm going to go start one again, I wouldn't start a restoration business again. I would find a way to stay in this industry, but I wouldn't do what I'm doing now again and start over. Um, I, I don't want that to sound like, oh, she doesn't love what she does. She doesn't love our industry. I absolutely love our industry, but I would find something different to do in our industry that really served restorers and gave them support in a way that we might be lacking. But so it's so funny whenever you get outside of our industry, whether you work with someone who's like a scaling up coach, a EOS
Mhm.
implementer, step outside of our bubble for a minute. I know that's hard to do, right? But when people start learning the ins and outs of what we do, I cannot tell you how many times I've heard somebody say, even this week during our EOS sessions, like, this is an incredibly complex
Yeah.
industry and very challenging. And there's a lot of issues that you guys have here that like are just different than a lot
Mhm.
of other businesses. And it's like, you're right. And it's there's a I think there's a lifespan that you have in restoration where you
Yeah.
give it all you have. And it's just an incredibly draining industry as well. I mean, when you're 24/7, 365, and it doesn't matter how great your team is running the place, like if you're
Mhm.
invested in your company and in your people, you don't just walk away 100%, right? Like it's
Yep.
not like I've got people running it, everything's fine. And so I don't know how to answer your question yet. And like I told you, like I keep thinking like what would I do? But and it would be in the industry, but I just think it would be different than being an operator.
Yeah.
Is that
So
fair?
that's totally fair. It's honest Katie on late on a Friday.
I'm not gonna lie to you, we know that.
So let's tackle the other hard one.
Oh, okay.
You ready?
Sure.
What do you see as the greatest challenge restorers are facing or will face in the next 5 years? Honest Katie, let her rip.
Wait, do we have
All,
any
all you're
comments?
going to do is confirm what we're all thinking, right? Like, come on.
Do we have any comments rolling in on LinkedIn yet?
Not yet. Well, somebody said great conversation. Another lady said, I love seeing more and more women coming into the industry. I totally
Woo! Yeah. We are our biggest challenge. And, we're number 1, we are our biggest challenge. And I was reading the State of the Industry Roundtable, which, by the way, CNR and Know-How, that's an incredible oh my god,
It's so
right?
good.
So good. Jeff Moore nailed it though, like this lack of unity that we have.
Hmm.
And there's a divide, right? There is a lot of ego in this industry. I
Tons.
mean, there's a lot of amazing people in this industry, but there's a lot of ego, a lot.
Hmm.
And there is a thought pattern that we can change the world on social media, and we cannot. Like it does
Hmm.
that's not how the world is changed, by ranting on social media, right?
Yep.
And until we can learn to get along and get on the same page and commit to doing amazing stuff without worrying who gets credit for it, then we're going
Mhm.
to be in this same pattern of just in defense reaction mode of like letting things happen to us and that divisiveness. And it's out on social media for the world to see. Carriers see that, carrier representatives
Mhm.
see that, and so let's not be surprised when we're pitted against each other with adjusters of like, well, so and
Mhm.
so down the street isn't charging for that, or so and so only charges this and you're charging that. And I'm not
Mhm.
saying we should get together on our pricing, but I am saying we should stop being so dang combative on social media. And
Mhm.
let's stop worrying about social media and let's worry about what's going on in our businesses and being up to speed on industry trends. Let's read those state of the industry reports. Let's
Mhm.
know what the AGA resources are. Let's get on board with that. Let's speak with one voice and stop worrying about having who has the loudest voice. Let's just have one voice. Let's start
Yep.
there, right? And I don't hate to say it, like that is our biggest challenge. Our biggest challenge is a need to be the loudest. And it's not about that. It's about the whole industry. It's not about personalities. And we have to stop making it all about us, as
Mhm.
in like me personally. It's about the people that we serve. It's about the policyholders, the customers.
Mhm.
And when we lose sight of who we're serving, then we have a lot of chatter, a lot of noise, a lot of
Mhm.
distraction, and that keeps us from achieving overarching goals for the industry.
Thought provoking. It's not often like something stops me dead in my tracks and forces me to look inward, but your comments definitely do. I've held the position for a while now that somewhere in the past decade we lost the ability to compromise, right?
Mhm.
And if you look back at the way things got done 10 years ago, like barely anybody got 100% their way, right? There was always a horse trade to
Yeah.
see forward motion. And, like in many ways, we've become very siloed in our positions. And, there's an element of confirmation bias with social media and other things that's occurring in the world right now, where we're only fed the information that confirms what we want to believe. Very rarely are we presented with an opportunity to be challenged in a meaningful way.
Yep.
And it was I had the opportunity to see Jocko Willink in person this summer when I was back in Michigan. And the one thing he said that resonated with me, he's like, in order to have influence, you have to allow yourself to be influenced, right?
Yes, I think being an influencer is that's something that's going on in this world. Like, look, I will tell you, I have to force myself to use LinkedIn, and I don't like to should myself, but I feel like I should be more active on it. Just the position that I'm blessed enough to be in with RIA right now, but it's not a priority for me. And when your validation comes from your likes and your
Hmm.
comments and your shares, then you get really really confused and into thinking, that that's what's most important in this world. And I just think that the real work of being involved and being in conversation and sometimes with AGA volunteering and
Hmm. Doing
putting
things.
a greater need ahead of your own needs, that's what we need. And
Hmm.
and people think things can just change overnight, and it takes years and a lot of time and dedication. And there's so many volunteers that we have that are just selfless, and
Yep.
they just want to leave things better than they found it. And so as long as we can be focused on leaving our industry better than we found it instead of making a name for ourselves, then we could accomplish a heck of a lot more. And so if we could just get out of our own way and
Yep.
get united, because people and carriers, whoever, third parties, they can see how combative we can be sometimes. And
Oh
it's
yeah.
just like,
Mm.
I would pounce on that if I were them too. It's like, okay, well, I see that you're against them and you're against them as well. And if y'all can't get on the same page, then we're just going to continue our tactics. And so the other challenge that we have in conjunction with that is that carriers, their profits are starting to decline. Now, granted, they're
Oh
still
yeah.
making billions, but when their profits start to decline, they're trying to find new ways to reduce our invoices. And
Mhm.
we don't do any TPA work. And I don't have any issue with anybody that does do TPA work. But what I am saying is that even if I'm not on any programs, we are still seeing a new third party reviewer come into the picture like every month. There's some new
Yeah.
random, company that's been hired to review our invoice and please provide X, Y, and Z and blah, blah, blah. And
Right.
it's just like these people are coming out of the woodwork because carriers need to protect their profitability, as do we. And just
Hmm.
being prepared to be able to do that and to document. Also, a big thing of the state of the industry as well. It's like if you're not documenting, you're not getting paid. And if
Hmm.
yeah, if you're not using technology to be able to do that now and to build your processes around documenting, so that that's the thing we have to talk about in interviews, onboarding with everybody in production. If we don't have a photo for it, we don't get paid for it.
Yep.
And
Yep.
that's the sad truth, but that's where we are now. So those are challenges of, hiring is difficult already, but then you need to hire someone who can pass your background screenings, drive your vehicles, treat your customers with respect, utilize technology, have the common sense and the technical skills to be able to
Yep.
do everything. Like this is a lot to ask of someone, right? And then,
Yep.
oh, by the way, if you don't stop and take a photo of every single thing you did and every piece of PPE you wore today, then we won't get paid for the work you're out doing. That's a
Yeah.
lot.
It is. It is. So where's the bright light? Now that we've gone full doomsday, Where do you see the
Did
bright
I go
light?
there? I didn't go there, did I?
No, you go out. Come on, it's Friday in the afternoon, and I'm being hyperbolic because that's what I do. Where do you see the bright light for us? Where do you see opportunity? What are you optimistic for?
Well, I'm so close to this. This is probably why I see it. I think a lot of people aren't seeing it, and I'm just preaching this whenever I
Mhm,
can. And whenever restorers get together, it's always like, I can't find any help. Like there's a lot of complaints, but it's like, well, have you done this, this, and this? Well, I don't have
mhm.
time to do that, right? We don't have time. So I just reached out to my local CTE department, which is I'm at county school system, career and technical education.
Okay.
And I was like, hey, how do I get in front of your students who are interested in the trades? Like, what can I do? And all you have to do is just like put your business out there and you can get in front of a lot of bright young people who are ready to work. And maybe they want to work part time while they go to community college for a little bit. But maybe they're just ready to go to work. And I know we think, well, kids today, they're different than kids were. No, there are a lot of bright kids out there with really strong work ethic.
Mhm.
But same concept. We have to think of it through the lens of our customers. A lot of them didn't know who we were or didn't even know this
Mhm.
industry existed until they
Yep.
needed us, right? So all of these young children who are interested in construction or anything trades related, they have no idea who we are and what we do.
Yep.
And it's a priority for me to go out and speak to young students and just say, hey, this is what we do. These are the opportunities that we provide. And anything I can do to get in front of those students is, and the teachers as well, like the teachers who will feed you those top tier candidates of the future. Like that's who you're looking for. And so the bright spot is that I'm seeing a resurgence of trades, at least where I live. I'm
Yeah.
not sure what it's like across the country, but I know that there are tons of people who work in your county school systems who are looking for partners like
Mhm.
us, and they just want you to come in and show off what you do. So we do that as much as we possibly can.
Mhm. Yeah, I completely agree. And I think you know, there's an opportunity to leverage the generational shift, right? The Gen Z that's coming behind the millennials, right? Like this is a group of, and I'm speaking with broad strokes, right? We're all individuals, we're all wired into, but generationally speaking, it's a group of people who really care about community, right?
Mhm.
We've kind of gone full circle and we're coming back to now there's a generation of folks who really care about community and they place a higher value on community than they do just about anything else. And so if we can create great cultural communities within our organization and then provide the opportunity for them to make a difference in a real and meaningful way in their communities,
Absolutely.
that's the kind of stuff that moves mountains, you know?
Yeah. And it's like I went and spoke to a group of rising freshmen over the summer, and it was like this little enrichment program they had over the summer. It was just kind of talking about how to find what you're passionate about, tying that to purpose, and then like also trying to choose some type of job where you're going to have job security. And I gave them like some homework of like go and Google these things. And when I Googled it, of like what careers are going to be in demand in 10 years, the first photo I saw was of a flooded building in Florida.
Yeah.
Like, and it was like, and I was like, this is a perfect photo for my slide. Hello.
Yeah.
Like, so when
Here's a
you're,
conversation. Yeah.
yeah, like what we do will always be in demand. And it, like you were saying, it's not just the physical work, but what people are lonely now. And the community is a huge thing for me, and just building that community and showing them like, if you position yourself, with the skills that you need, but then to
Mhm.
also be able to discover your passion and be able to communicate that in an interview, like you can find yourself in a job or at a company with the best culture in town.
Yep.
And we're in a small town, right? Like the way we
Yeah.
run things here is different, in a good way. But I think understanding like, all right, well, if I can, live my life in a way and present myself as someone worthy enough of being on the most desirable team in town, then that's a huge career opportunity for me. And so that's what we talk about. It's like a place where you can belong, a place where you can grow, a place where you can be cared for, appreciated, loved, respected. That's big stuff that kids need to hear nowadays.
Yeah. No, and I think that there's something beautiful about doing something with your hands,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Making a difference with, the labor side of it. And, it's like, it seems so dumb every time I cut the grass, but there's always that moment where I finish cutting the grass and maybe I go crack a beer and I go stand in my yard and I'm like, I just cut this grass.
But did you stripe it? That's what I want to know.
Oh, I run I've experimented diagonal patterns, and I have a hillside lot too, so perspective's a big deal.
Yeah.
Don't get me started. Like,
Taking pride in that. Totally. But I mean, let's be honest, we talk about the influencer culture as well. From a young age, I think people are tricked into thinking that you've got to live a certain lifestyle and they can't afford how to do that. It's so confusing for them, and the honor of what we do and just being able to take pride in the type of work we do. And like, we're always going to need people, but we always have to communicate to them the impact and the pride that comes with the trades.
Yep. I completely agree. Awesome. Thank you for taking some time to spend with me today.
I enjoy this is the best part of my day today, I think.
It's your husband's birthday.
I know. I should have said that.
It's the best part of your day to this moment. After this, it's all uphill for you. It gets way better, I'm sure.
This afternoon. It's been a highlight of my week. How about that? Also, may I plug our annual convention, because this morning,
please do.
We just extended our early bird special, and this is a substantial deal because we have not raised rates on our convention in years. It's been a great rate for a long time. So we will have a price increase, but we are honoring last year's rates until November 30th. So let your Black Friday shopping be some convention registration. So that is a big deal. And I'm telling you, the most important, not the most important, the thing I'm most excited about, our closing session this year is going to be huge. We have all, like, as a board, you probably heard us talking about this over dinner. We were just talking about who are some people that we as a board want to learn from, like who are some of the trailblazers, the people that have stories to tell, that have got, decades of experience and will tell us their failures or their hard lessons learned. And we have an all-star panel lined up for our very last session. So go ahead and get registered, but then also get your hotel blocked, because there's going to be an eclipse, a total eclipse of the heart in Dallas, and everyone apparently this is a big deal, and hotels sell out very fast. I think, they sell for crazy amounts of money. So you need to be prepared this year. Restorers notoriously late and wait until the last minute.
Oh yeah.
We are last minute people, but we cannot be last minute people this year because of this eclipse. Like, the eclipse is a big deal. Not as big of a deal as us, though. So go ahead and get registered. There's like some the convention agenda is amazing this year. It's going to be really good. So we're just building and building and building on what we've had in years past and making it better based on everyone's feedback. So it's going to be a great year.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. In Dallas, right? What a great town.
Going to the Big D.
There's a place called the Velvet Taco. You can get the DoorDash delivery. It's so good. You can get a full grab taco. Like, I'm just letting everybody know.
Let me write that down. The Velvet Taco.
You know what? We'll get some Velvet Taco when we're there. My treat.
This podcast sponsored by the Velvet Taco.
Velvet Taco. You got to give context, otherwise it doesn't sound right. That's for sure. Anything you'd like to add in closing?
I want to thank you, because you always have your ear to the ground and you bring this perspective to our board where you're like, hey, this is what people are saying and we need to do something about it. And I want to thank you for saying people feel out of touch with the RIA board and they want to know more about you on a personal level. And I'm totally willing to take up that task and do these interviews. And you are a doer, and you are a good, just a great person. You have such a big heart, Anthony. You're just one of my favorite people in the industry. And so I just want to thank you for doing this as a service to our board.
Yeah. And it's a lot of fun. So it's one of those things I get to do that I look forward to it. I'm like, oh, I get to talk to Katie today. This is going to be awesome.
I know. I also want to congratulate you on keeping it PG. Well done, my friend.
Hey, I tried. All right, Katie. Thank you so much for your time.
Bye, Anthony.